Hey guys, today we're going to talk about the Bushmaster XM15 rifle and other products that Bushmaster manufactures and builds. But before I get started, I'm going to give you a little bit of the reason for this video. I get a lot of questions about the AR-15 rifle and what my recommendations are. A lot of times, is this version better than this? What do you think about Rock River? What do you think about DPMS? I'm thinking about a Smith & Wesson. You know, the different models. But let me tell you what I do know. I know that Bushmaster is one of the top-selling rifle, AR-15 rifle systems in the country. In fact, since 2003, it has been the best-selling AR-15 rifle in America. But sometimes that doesn't necessarily mean that it's the best. And so I'm not going to down other systems or anything else. I'm just going to talk about the Bushmaster AR-15. They started out in 1973 in Windham, Maine, and since then have become one of the leaders in the world for the AR-15 rifle. Over 59 countries use the Bushmaster AR-15 M16 system in their arsenals. Here is the Bushmaster logo. It's a rattlesnake. These are made in Windham, Maine, USA. They're called the XM15. And they are in the, they have both caliber. It says .223 and 5.56 NATO. But it's the E2. This one is a dedicated flat top. And as you can see, that little piece of tape, of course, is the serial number. And I'm going to tell you, Bushmaster, I've had these for years, and they make just excellent quality. All the features that you would want. They're made from forged aircraft grade aluminum, 7075 T6. Now, Bushmaster, even though they started out in Windham, Maine, which they still have their manufacturing facility there, they also have a new facility in Havasu, Arizona, which is one of my hero states. But also, they have their R&D facility in Dallas, Georgia, which is pretty close to where I live. They are state-of-the-art. They're used by many, like I said, many of the military forces, and have been used in the U.S. Armed Forces for many years. When I first bought my AR-15, I bought a Colt, and I loved that rifle. But it was the 20-inch, full-size, heavy-barreled, and it wasn't long before I had my eye on one of the little Bushmaster carbines with the little collapsible stock, and it actually had an 11.5-inch barrel, and that was my first experience with Bushmaster. And ever since then, I have loved the Bushmaster products, and they have never failed me. In fact, I've got a test on one right now that I've had that rifle for 15 years, and I have only cleaned it one time, just to see how long this gun will last. I'll probably clean it before something breaks, but it's just amazing. I keep the surfaces clean and things like that, but the guns are very versatile, and they're very durable. The AR-15 M16 had a reputation in Vietnam for being not very reliable, but since that time, if you do basic maintenance on it, keep it clean, usually you'll have a rifle that'll withstand a lot of shooting, and especially for us that are civilians that just shoot, on a regular basis, but don't abuse our rifles. The Bushmaster AR-15 should last you a lifetime. Always have parts kits available, which I always do. I keep some extra parts just in case. But knock on wood, I have never had to replace any parts as well. Just take care of your rifles is very important. My other ones I do clean. I do keep clean, but this is just a certain little test I'm doing. But the Bushmaster has always been top of the top for me. Love the rifles. One of the new products that Bushmaster has just released is the ORC, the ORC, which is the Optics Ready Carbine, and it's in .308 caliber. handles it accepts the FN, FAL mags that are out there, so they're pretty inexpensive. But that is a really neat system. I like the .308 caliber and the ballistics on that particular cartridge. Of course, it's tried and true in the U.S. military and other places. But that's something that Bushmaster has just come out with, and it's a really neat system. Also, they've come out with their new BA-50, which is a 50 caliber rifle, and that's also an incredible weapon. So just to let you know, Bushmaster is really innovative, and they're doing a lot of things. And to me, that says a lot about what they're doing on their basic level with their basic rifles. You can get different, like I've said, different configurations, different accessories with your rifle. And Magpul, of course, they have the Mo system with Magpul, which has all of Magpul's features on it, with the stocks and the sights and everything that Magpul does on a rifle already. And the funny thing is Bushmaster has a lightweight rifle that's in basic configuration with a collapsible stock, very thin barrel, and it actually weighs, it says super light, in fact, it actually weighs more than the Mo Magpul cooperation rifle. Now we're just going to look at a simple view of the internals, and this is a Hogue rubber grip, makes it really nice and comfortable. As you can see here, here's a retaining pin and here's one. These two pins are what hold this upper to the lower. And what you do is, on this side, you push it through the back first. And this can give you a place where you can do some simple maintenance. And as you can see here, this is the hammer. And if you pull the trigger, the hammer will fall. When the bolt comes back, pops the hammer back. Now up front, this is what actually holds it remaining to the barrel. So you push it through. Now when you buy a rifle, typically these are pretty tight. I've changed this one out quite a few times. It just comes loose. So as you can see, here and here, and that's what retains the upper, that's what they call this, to the lower. It can be cleaned this way or repaired if needed be. The upper itself, as you can see right here, you pull this. This is the charging handle. It pulls the bolt out, and then the bolt drops down, and the charging handle comes down and out. See those two tabs? There's a place in there for it, and you're going to know that, you're going to see that when we get ready to reinstall the bolt. Now here's your chamber right here. If you want to look through, you can see the chamber. This is a protective shield that keeps debris out of the bolt. It does pop back as soon as the gun is charged. It'll flip down, but you can put it in the upward position just to protect your bolt. This is forward assist, and what happens is sometimes when the bolt comes forward, it may not come all the way forward, and you can use this as forward assist. The very early M16s did not have forward assist, and many of the AR-15s, of course, the early A1 models. This is the brass deflector, so as the brass hits, it deflects out of the way. But here is, of course, a sling swivel, bayonet lug. I have this for a Harris bipod that I can put on here. Now, if you'll notice, there is this silver. This is the buffer spring. It's a spring that runs the length here. And this is where the bolt comes back and pops this. And this is the recoil spring as well. That's what that does. Now here we have the collapsible stock. This is the buffer spring here. And it's a little shorter, being a carbine, but it works very well. Of course, reassembly is very easy. First, you want to put the forward in first. What you want to do is you take your charging handle, and there are slots that match Now you see this little tube right here. This needs to fit under the charging handle. Then it goes right in and click. It needs to be flush right here. If it's not flush, this is resting against the gas port. Slides down. You're in business. Now as you can see, the flat top has no back sight. It does have a front sight. Thus we just reattach the carry handle. Bushmaster does do the 1 in 9, which I really like, 1 in 9 twist on the rifle. This is a heavy barreled rifle, chrome bore, which is great, especially for cleaning. It actually gives a lot more life to your barrel. Now, one interesting side note is that the Beltway snipers in 2002 used a Bushmaster in their little rampage, and it brought media attention to Bushmaster. Bushmaster did actually give money towards the families and settled out of court, which, you know, is just one of those things. It's a travesty against Bushmaster and these families, but they bounced right back, of course, and in 2003 and on have been the best-selling rifles in the United States. So obviously it didn't hurt them, but it's really a shame when the media has put attention on a really fine company for something that they really had no control over. Now, I always get questions about what's the price? What's the price? Well, you know, for one thing, there's so many different models on these different rifles, and the manufacturer's suggested retail price begins about $12.50. But if you go on GunsAmerica.com, and that's what I use a lot of times to do my pricing, because that's really the median for pricing for guns, because that's what they're actually selling for. I think I found a couple of Bushmasters for around the $700 range, brand new. So, you know, when you look at the manufacturer's suggested retail, it's usually very high. And they do that to protect their distributors and their, you know, different retail outlets, so they can price their guns at a certain price level. So, you know, go to Guns America, or GunBroker.com is also a good source. In fact, I bought quite a few guns on GunBroker, and then had it transferred to my local gun store with a minimal fee, and then got a really good deal. So those are just some options to check for pricing to give you an idea. And as always, thanks for watching. Please subscribe for more fun gun reviews and sensible survival. God bless America. Long live the Republic.